even me playing games, it didn't cross my mind that I could actually have a career in games until I saw people at a studio making a game that I loved. That was only when it dawned and clicked on me that this is a possibility. Like, I knew about the idea of making films and making TV shows and all this sort of stuff, but the idea of making games didn't click on me.
What's it been like starting your own studio? Like, I mean, it's already tough, I imagine, but then doing that in the context of a pandemic, like, you know, walk us through that and what that's been like.
It's been tough. Like, there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of learning curves. And I think it's that whole thing of, it's, again, working remotely was something that we wanted to do. And because we believe that ultimately that, people should have the freedom to work from home, and you're also able to bring in people who wouldn't necessarily be able to kind of travel into work or kind of get into an office space, or who just generally feel comfortable at home as a way of, building up. And that was always on our minds even before the pandemic. It was this idea that we were going to build this remote space that we can connect through, online, and also build this beautiful game. But yeah, it's been, it's funny. Like, one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned while at this studio is kind of explaining your ideas to people is very hard. Like, trying to communicate your ideas to people, and because you're basically asking them to be a mind reader, and it's not easy. But at the same time, it's been a massive learn. Like, people, again, it's that whole thing of also learning to let go, and knowing that actually what you might communicate to someone might not be the exact idea that you had, but they've come with something better, and you're like, yeah, like that's part of the creative process, And that's another thing as well. Like, during being at home and being a remote studio has allowed us access to be able to talk to anyone around the world and connect with everyone around the world, and really find talent in spaces that you wouldn't necessarily find. People who haven't even worked in the games industry, who have been interested by it, and who are living in, on a different continent, who want to get involved. And it's so exciting, because you're then now seeing fresh things that you've never even seen. And I'm I play games all the time, and I'm seeing stuff, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this before. And again, it's all about the people that you surround yourself with. I mean, me and Mel are, we haven't made a game before. We have never made a game before. We have a passion there, and we have heart, and we know the business mind and the tactical sense of doing it. But that's why you surround yourself and you hire people who are experts in that field, and you make sure that, and they bring in their own expertise and again, teach you something new and teach you something brilliant. And you know what? Every day I am stunned by the amount of stuff that the whole team bring out. Like, I'm just stunned, and it's so wild to think that it's because, again, we're all coming from that same place. So yeah, it's been an experience, Shay. it's been wild,
to say the least. It's been an experience. No, that sounds brilliant, and yeah, like I said, I'm genuinely so excited to see what you guys come out with. Look at me, with my hands, I really am. So do you have any advice? Like you said, as someone who hasn't made a game before but has this incredible, palpable passion, do you have any advice for people who do want to take that plunge and start their own studio?
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? So it's funny. I feel like the only reason I've been able to kind of get to the place that I am at is because I had a very, very lovely job that allowed me to take a risk and put money towards something that I truly believed in. But to be honest, the one thing that I've learned is that I can say here and I can say okay, go out there and make games. Go out there and try and apply for this job, that, and the other. But I think actually the games industry as a whole actually needs to almost take responsibility for helping people who are interested in games, because as much as there is a lot of knowledge out there, there's so many online resources out there. There's YouTube videos which are incredibly thorough and detailed. It's so there's a bank of knowledge on the internet out there to learn what it means to be in the industry or to make a game. But ultimately, I think to you know, and like, as I say, like, as one piece of advice I'd say is, you know, read up as much as you can, play as much as you can, or do what you can, and paper prototype. Like, I'm always paper prototyping. Those are kind of practical ways of doing it. But I do feel that the actual games industry as a whole also has a responsibility of creating more opportunities for people who want to get into games, who don't necessarily have the chance to get into games. I mean, the one thing that I've learned is there is a massive divide socioeconomically between someone who comes from like a council flat or from not a very like very nice background to someone who is genuinely had everything given to them. There's this massive divide in it, and like and that needs to be solved and sorted, I feel. And, you know, I think that's that's the beauty about, you know, things that like BAFTA do with the young game designers and stuff. And it's just, it gives the opportunity to people who wouldn't necessarily have thought of that as an avenue of making a living, because they are surrounded by other elements or areas of ways of making a living. They don't have the comfort of thinking, making a game I'll definitely make money from. Like, you know, that's something that didn't cross my mind at all. Even me playing games, it didn't cross my mind that I could actually have a career in games until I saw people at a studio making a game that I loved. That was only when it dawned and clicked on me that this is a possibility. Like, I knew about the idea of making films and making TV shows and all this sort of stuff, but the idea of making games didn't click on me. And I'm telling you, like, if that was open and accessible to people, and that idea of, and more opportunities were coming from that, I feel like we would be in a position where I can happily and comfortably say, just, you know, go out there and do your things. But again, that's not the case. And I feel like it's one of those things where I do feel that responsibility needs to be taken both ways within the industry as a whole, to sort of create those opportunities for people to have the safety and freedom to be able to explore that. But yeah.
What a mic drop. Like, if this wasn't all rigged up,
it's a wild day today, isn't it? It's a funny Tuesday on a pandemic Tuesday. Like,
just coming out with the bangers all over the place. I love to see it. I mean, honestly, like, that really speaks to me personally. Like, I come from a working class background. I grew up on a council flat, like, and I'm here by, you know, I orchestrated and, you know, manufactured my own luck, but it is by luck, you know. And I think that absolutely is exactly what I was hoping you would say, because it is true.